All right, Andrew Eason here with the ESUCC, and I'm joined by Dr. Lynn Hur at ESU6 and Laresha Kugel at ESU9. And actually, Laresha and I are just going to sort of, be the test subjects for Dr. Lynn Hur's experiment here today, which is an opportunity for all of us to learn a little bit about monitoring student progress in the breakout rooms. This is something that I'm sure if you've worked with students in those breakout spaces, you're like, how do I know what they're doing? Making sure that they're on task. And this is going to be an opportunity for you to find a simple tool to kind of help you in that format. So Dr. Hur, thank you. We look forward to learning from you.
Thank you, Andrew. So one of the things that teachers have shared with us is that a challenge in blended learning environments is how do we, or even in physical distanced environments, is how do we get that meaningful small group instruction back, or small group practice, small group interaction with teachers because of the challenges that we're facing during this time in education. So one of the things that we have found is that I'm going to address this in terms of virtual breakout rooms. These kinds of tools, though, could be used in your physical classroom as well. Those kids often have devices and could do that. One of the challenges that we face in sending students to breakout rooms is that we're basically sending them to the hallway with no supervision. And I know that nothing ever goes wrong in an elementary school when we send kids, or a high school or a middle school, when we send kids out into a room with no supervision. Probably never happens at your school, but in some of the schools that I have been working on with teachers, we do see that that can be an issue. Not so much always as behavior, but productivity without someone really helping to keep students moving in the right direction can be a problem. And this is a fairly simple way to promote that productivity and focus in a breakout room. So number one, I'm going to tell you is that we need short times in breakout rooms with very directed, focused work. So the idea would be to run out of time to do all the work than to have extra time that they're just hanging out there. So think about the task that you're giving, making sure that you have an appropriate amount of time that you're sending people out into breakout rooms. So we have some templates that are all ready to go to help you promote that learning. And then a very small technique in Google Slides that's been there all along. Some of you may have used it in the physical classroom. It's great in the physical classroom, but just a different way of viewing slides. For those of you who have been following along here in our master slides in the Zoom refresher, these links are on slide 7 of that slide set, which is at bit.ly/Zoom refresh. On slide 7 is what I'm working from here. So what you'll see here is I have some breakout room slide templates and a blog post that talks about how to get better engagement in breakout rooms. So I'm going to go ahead and pop out of this, and we're going to first just take a quick look at a template from Slides Mania that's linked there that I have used, that I pre-populated with content ready to go for teachers. Again, this is linked on that template. And I went ahead and used this template. The graphics were already done for me. I had a group of elementary teachers, so I went ahead and just pre-populated the groups by grade level. I went ahead and outlined roles that students would have, or my teachers would have, when I sent them to a breakout room. So because our class is a class of 2 today, we won't be assigning these roles, but these also help focus. So a discussion leader, a time manager, a reporter who shares out with the whole class, someone who's the screen sharer who maybe doesn't like to talk but is good with tech and is willing to share their screens. So assigning roles to students can really help. Pre-populating the slides with content. So in my example, this was a session where students who are my teachers were looking at different templates available in Slides Mania and how they might use those templates in their classroom. So they all took notes on these slides, which I could see happening in real time. And that's what we wanted to show you. So also linked on this slide is this template that's already created for you as teachers as a way to capture student work in that classroom. So My wonderful students, Andrew and Larisha, are ready to go, even though they will be in breakouts of single people. Larisha, you remember that I've asked you to go out to room 1, and Andrew, I believe you're in room 2. And what we'll be seeing, so I have preloaded a prompt for them. We're thinking about ways to recharge outside of school. And we just did a 3-2-1, 3 self-care activities for school breaks, 2 shows that you like to binge, and 1 favorite food. And notice we said binge more on TV than on food. So we went with the 2 and 1. And they've got a link to these slides. They know what slide they're going to. And I could see the whole class at one time. I'm going to show you how to do this. But for now, that we can see Larisha has already typed her name on her slide. So she's in breakout 1. She's typed her name. Andrew's typed his name. And in real time, as they're typing or they're adding pictures, I'm seeing what they do. So one of the things we know is that when we send people into breakout rooms, and you're watching them in real time here, when we send kids out into breakout rooms, we know that we can show up kind of Bewitched style in their room and ask them questions or see what they're doing. They also know that when we leave, we've got a lot of other rooms so that we probably won't be back. And that often means productivity and focus goes way down. So if I see here that I've got 2 students and one's not typing or adding anything to their slides, that's a reason for me to pop over to breakout room run and see what's holding you up, Larisha. Are you having trouble getting started? Do you not understand what we're doing? Or let's say that we really had 3 students in class. I could look here, geez, I'm not really getting much at all from 3 and 4. That tells me that I need to go. So it changes that dynamic of when a teacher shows up, we pay attention. When the teacher leaves, we don't, because we can see everything. And this is something that I actually worked on with students and teachers prior to pandemic teaching, because we could have students working on vocabulary notebooks, for example, where they were asked to do things that they were given a word, which the word could go up, for example, where it says student name. That could be the vocabulary term. And then we've given them find a picture, find a definition, put it in your own words. So what I want to show you, and you can see I have amazing students here who are doing wonderful work. I'm just going to zoom out to show you that I could have as many students in this class as I need or want to, and I'm seeing all of those in real time. So if they use their paint bucket, if I needed a quick visual cue, I could have a shape and say, I want you to fill the star with blue when you're done with this. Or if you have a question, I want you to put the siren, kind of like the cups method that we do in the classroom. I want to see your siren to tell me that you need help. All that I did to be able to see this view is when I'm in Google Slides Edit View, at the lower left, we're used to seeing this view. And I didn't know until this summer that this is called the film strip view. There's an icon right next to that that's called grid view. That pops us over to be able to see all the slides at one time. Plus, we can use our zoom in or zoom out to be able to see those in more detail. So I just especially want to thank my wonderful students for showing you how this works. Any comments or questions from either of you?
You know, I would add to this conversation too that sometimes when you have shared documents like that, there becomes some bickering over so-and-so deleted such and such in mine. And you actually have the opportunity through that feature to go back and look at kind of the history, right? To see if and when and who changed those things out. So it's nice to know that that piece exists as well in something like this.
Yeah, I would also point out that in the slide view, if we only had 2 students in class, I could very easily just go in and edit this, take those rooms out. I could add more rooms because all those rooms are just links to direct slides in my deck. So requires very little tech skill or time on teachers' part with a template like this ready to go, but can really increase the effectiveness of small group work in hybrid environments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially little kiddos, scaffolding a little bit where you kind of ask something simple or an icebreaker like this is a great way to make this approachable. And then once you've established those routines, you can scale it up and make these a little more intricate and involved. And I love that these are collaborative, right? So even though we're all, as you said, individually on these slides, it could be something multiple students are working on simultaneously.
Right. We could even do follow-up on these when we're back as a class. I could say, so Laresha, could you please leave some notes in the speaker notes section on Andrew's slide and ask a question about one of the things that you see there? Or we've got the desktop out here that we could create shapes or sticky notes. So I think it's just a different lens to look at a tool that teachers are already familiar with, but just maybe, and students too, but maybe hadn't thought about using it in this way.
Yeah, this is great. And I also appreciate that it allowed both of us to do learning in our own way. I was very visual, whereas Andrew added words to add to his answering. It just allowed for that flexibility, but because you could see we're both working, but
yeah, that's a great point. And Laresha, another thing we've noticed is that it does also provide some scaffolding for students who may struggle because they do see what the other students are doing. So if they're really stuck, they can look over at someone else's slide to get an idea. There's always the student who wants to know, is this what they meant? You know, am I on the right track here? And they can get a quick view and see that. You as the instructor could deal with it if you found an exact copy of somebody else's. Then you have a chance to discuss that, but it kind of provides that feedback without the teacher involvement, because from my teacher side, I would still be back here on grid view watching everybody. And if I needed to, if I was teaching in Zoom, I could easily just pop over into Breakout Room 6 and get that group back on track.
Yes. So
well, yeah, I was going to say, for all of those reasons, this is a fantastic piece that is familiar, fun, able to monitor that student progress, which is so important. Make sure that you access this and more at the slides that are on the screen there. And want to certainly thank everybody for being a part of this, and check out the other videos in this playlist for more fun tips, tricks, and some Zoom refresher pieces that will hopefully help you keep your remote experiences fun and engaging.